Hello and welcome to FinTech Focus TV. We're here at TradingTech Summit New York 2026, where leaders from across capital markets have come together to discuss the technology shaping the future of trading. From AI and automation to market infrastructure, cloud, data, and governance, the industry is facing rapid change. Throughout the day, we spoke with some of the event's leading speakers and delegates and asked them 3 simple questions about the future of trading technology, the challenges firms may be overlooking, and the skills that will matter most in the years ahead. Let's hear what they had to say. Joining us next at TradingTech Summit is Diane Levich from HBR. Diane, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to be here with you guys.
Of course. I guess, tell me about HBR and what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. So HBR is a capital markets infrastructure company. We've been around for more than 15 years.
Wow.
Focused on high performance trading. So this is high performance software and hardware based technology spanning market access, market data, and matching engine technology as well.
Amazing. So I guess as far as the client side goes, talk to me about what kind of clients you're dealing with on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So we typically deal with clients across the spectrum that are interested in high performance, which in other words is low latency solutions, ultra low latency solutions. So that includes tier 1 banks, their end users like proprietary trading firms, market makers, the like, and as well as exchanges, of course.
Joining us next at TradingTech Summit is Joshua Carroll from Solace. Joshua, thank you so much for joining.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great.
Of course. So I guess talk to me a little bit about Solace, what you guys do, and where you sit in the market.
Yeah, so we've been around about 20 years. I joined the company back in March, but I was a 12-year customer of the company from 2010 to 2022 with Royal Bank of Canada.
Okay.
I was originally in the UK, and then I've been in New York since 2013 myself. The company itself, we grew up in the capital markets industry with appliance-based technology that underpins 9 of the top 12 banks around the world right now, even to this day, for market data use cases, post-trade, and that's really where we grew up as a company. And then over the last 10 years, we have turned that hardware appliance that lives in many colo data centers into a software version that the banks can run anywhere, and then into a multi-tenancy SaaS offering in the cloud. And our business has very broadened out from there. So 20 years ago, no company would think about what is an event. So an event in a capital markets is really simple. It's like a trade event. It's a post-trade event. And I was telling someone the other day, my wife used to work for London Underground. Well, they have 6 million people that travel on the Underground every day, and they wouldn't have thought about those people as events or where they go in their system 20 years ago, but today they absolutely do. They can track everywhere you go and show people, and whether it's transport, retail, manufacturing, logistics, these are all industries that have adopted our platform over the last couple of years, from when we moved from an appliance-based system to a software to a cloud-hosted offering. And those different levels of our product all interact. So you could be in a data center with a hardware appliance talking to a software version of that lives in the cloud. And so if I think back to my RBC days, I had appliances in London, New York, Toronto, Sydney, Hong Kong, Tokyo, Singapore, and then I adopted AWS and Azure as cloud-hosted offerings, all meshed together in one environment. And if you send a message in Sydney, it could go to AWS in New York, and the customer, like the client of that, doesn't need to know how that's happening under the covers. So it's an on-demand routing system that can connect applications in real time. And that's sort of where we are, and we now underpin, if you get on a plane in the US, the FAA is now one of our biggest customers. So we're underpin and that's super recent from an expansion point of view. They were a customer a long time, but they've gone all in our platform in air traffic control over the last couple of years. Same if you're in Canada, you get on a plane there. Or if you go shopping, say, in a lot of the big retailers in Germany, a large amount of the retailers and manufacturers now adopt our products. So, if you go shopping in a big furniture store, like all the events of how that furniture shows up in the store, at the point of sale, all of that tied together. If you spend a transaction on your Amex card, like the underpinning of that, that's all us.
Joining us next at TradingTech Summit is Martyn Snook from Genesis Global. Martyn, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, nice to be here.
Yeah, of course. So I guess first things first, tell me a little bit about Genesis and your role there.
Yeah, so like I say, Martyn Snook. I'm an account executive at Genesis Global. So Genesis, we're an AI-ready architecture. Using our architecture, you're able to grow AI within your organization using our framework. We offer things like supporting scalability, resiliency. We have the compliance, regulatory, auditability. So you're able to quickly build applications knowing that you've got this framework behind it.
Very nice. And I guess as far as, let's say, the client side, talk to me about who you're typically selling to as the salesperson.
Yeah, so we focus on capital markets. We work from front office, back office, middle office. Our clients could be anything from tier one banks through to the buy side. We focus on other areas, compliance, risk, regulatory. We convert everything from workflows, from spreadsheets, legacy system replacement. And then we coined the term vendor scaffolding. So you can take your current capital market systems, and we can build a framework around it, enabling you to use AI within legacy systems.
Joining us next at TradingTech Summit is Riebling from Adaptive. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So talk to me a little bit about Adaptive and what you guys do.
Sure. So at Adaptive, we really focus on building bespoke trading solutions for our clients. So our typical Adaptive client is a client that wants to really differentiate via technology and not use the same stack that everybody else in the market is using, which might sound obvious, but it actually takes a certain budget and mindset to be able to afford to own and operate all of your own technology. And so it's people that really value the ownership of IP, having access to source code. They view their technology as an asset. Adaptive helps those folks build out world-class trading platforms. So not just on the trading side of things, like on the traditional capital markets banking world, but we also build bespoke exchanges for folks. So it's really interesting day-to-day experience living at Adaptive. One day we're launching a prediction market exchange, which we just did 2 weeks ago successfully. And then the next day we're flipping lens to doing a global OMS replacement for a large tier one bank.
Where do you see the most growth? I mean, obviously prediction markets is exploding right now. But
yes. But
how's that looking from your side?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you have to be careful with trends. They come and they go. Adaptive doesn't want to come and go, right? And so I think that we're in a good position because we can still get involved in trends like prediction markets that we do believe have longevity in the market. But we also work a lot with the traditional financial players. So I think we're pretty well hedged between the tried and true modernization of platforms from the 1980s that are still going on today, over to the other side of the world, dealing with launching crypto exchanges and prediction markets, things like that.
It's getting that balance right, I guess, is key with the expansion, but also not overexpanding. As far as the next generation of capital markets infrastructure, what do you think will define it?
Yeah, so the next generation of infrastructure is really about the trend and the evolution of what's kind of going on. I think if you look back to history, a lot of what you saw was software-based solutions moving into hardware and being cast into hardware. So you kind of see that trend with routers and switches, firewall technologies, the Cisco's and Palo Alto companies that have designed, firewalls today, and even with video streaming, right? What you're seeing in video streaming. All of that used to be in software, and it has evolved into hardware. Now, that is sort of what we have seen, and that's what we've been driving toward at HPR since our inception. Our first flagship product, RiskBot, came out of a regulation essentially from dealing with the flash crash and what have you, but essentially all of our technologies thereafter have been built with it in mind that we have a software component, but we also have a hardware component built for various different size companies, based on whatever performance you are after. But going back to what infrastructure will be in the next generation, it will absolutely all be cast into hardware. And so we're actually seeing the trend that software to hardware, custom silicon, is going to be crossing into $250 billion of growth by the end of the decade. So there's no signs of slowing down. This is absolutely happening. And we're at the front of that, that trend, and we're also seeing that with our matching engine technology. We were the first ever matching engine technology in full hardware, which is very different from just hardware acceleration, where a portion has been moved into hardware. We're doing it all fully hardware.
That is huge.
Yes.
So I think you're a great person to ask. What do you think will define the next generation of capital markets infrastructure?
I think it's going to be a lot of the capital markets infrastructure still lives physically.
Yeah.
And some of the big hyperscalers have been sort of hanging around some of the exchanges. Google made an investment into CME a few years ago, still has several $1 billion. And I think that the blurring lines between private colo data centers and cloud is going to continue to evolve. And I think the companies that are able to move quickly with that change, as those changes happen, will be the ones that are most successful. And now, even in an AI world, I was speaking to a bank the other day down in Australia, one of the big banks there. Azure is where they'd kept all their data. They signed a contract now with Google for AI. Then they need to truck all their data from Azure to Google. They're not going to move their data to Google. And they shouldn't. But being able to adopt and use different systems and all of them, as opposed to any one, because who knows going to win the race? Maybe several, maybe one wins out. Who knows, right?
Maybe an unknown. Who's to say?
Maybe a company we don't know yet, right? And so being able to be fungible and agile and move quickly and adopt and not put all your eggs in one basket and be multi-cloud by design, be on data centers by design, and being able to just move with that quickly is the ones that will capture the market share.
Not putting everything in one basket.
No, and you will not be successful. It's not a strategy to go all in on one provider, but so many companies are still, it's expensive to go with many providers, but that's the only way you'll be successful.
What do you think will define the next generation of capital markets infrastructure?
So I think we're seeing a lot of vibe coding going on in the market at the moment. People are using tools such as Claude to quickly build applications. But what we're seeing is a lot of wasted effort because these applications then can't go into production. So using our architecture with these tools and the AI, you're able to take it from prototype to production rapidly. So we're talking a number of days to weeks rather than years to get these applications out there.
So a drastic improvement timeline-wise.
Exactly, yeah. So we're seeing people build these applications, but like we mentioned at the start, they don't have the framework behind it for auditability, scalability, compliance, regulatory. So they've built this application, looks good, the workflows are there, but then they can never get it into production.
Okay, amazing. And I guess as far as the next generation of capital markets infrastructure, what do you think that's going to look like?
So I think that, for sure it's 24/7. And so it's really interesting right now because you have very large, global market operators that provide a lot of exchange connectivity and infrastructure to the market, but they are only limited at operating 24/5.
Yeah.
And so, it sounds obvious, but the challenge of actually operating a large-scale company 24/6, let alone 24/7, there's a ton of overhead operationally to handle that. And so we're getting a lot of demand from our clients that their current vendors that they, outsource their technology platforms to today, there's no guarantee they'll be able to support 24/6 within, a 12-month period, and that scares them.
Yeah.
And so they're starting to talk to people like Adaptive that it can move faster to make sure that we're protecting themselves against their providers that can't move that quickly.
Okay, and I guess that lines up nicely with the next question. So what do you think firms are underestimating right now, or what could help them align better in future?
Yeah, so I think, we've been hearing a lot about AI, and of course every firm is trying to find ways to come up with an AI strategy, but it's no longer conceptual. And now if you walk into a room and you don't have an answer for what your AI strategy is, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So I think that that's key. I also think that it's, again, something people have been talking about a long time, but people talk about cloud adoption and moving mission critical trading applications into the cloud. A lot of
general kind of capital markets firms, hardware, software, or fintechs in general, what do you think these firms are underestimating right now?
Yeah, I think with regards to the thought that you can build in-house, I think they're underestimating the need for, the talent, and that has been seen across banks, across exchanges. I think even the buy side will experience challenges with filling in those talent gaps. I think it's harder and harder to find good talent because we're in such competitive markets, and just making sure that talent is staying put and working on the right things. I think, you think that if you have an in-house team and everything is sort of locked in, then you're sort of free from any errors. But I think it's the opposite, really. If you have an in-house team, you're a lot more susceptible to errors, and even the maintenance that goes on, exchange-driven changes that are happening, all this, evolution that you're seeing with regards to regulation, and even 24/7 trading, right? All of that needs work to maintain.
Yeah.
And you don't really want to rely on in-house resources because it's just extremely expensive and completely unnecessary. When you have a vendor that can do this and can do it in a customized way, why would you go and have that resource be done in-house when it's just such a resource-intensive thing? Yeah. So that's, I think, what I think most banks that we talk to underestimate. I think the buy side, just naturally, because they have the money, will consistently do this, in-house, and that's okay for them. But I think for the larger organizations that have all this technology sprawl and all of these legacy systems that need to be changed and such, why spend those resources in-house?
It would be a huge undertaking.
It's a huge undertaking. I mean, they're doing it, right? They have those teams, but they're not kind of thinking long term, like, what can I be doing with those resources instead of having them build these things and tweak those things when I have, a vendor that can absolutely do this for me, and do it well, right? So let's focus on the alpha and the strategies that I have at my firm to do what we do best.
100%.
Right?
Okay. And what do you think that firms are underestimating right now?
The cost of AI still, right? There's plenty of news articles saying, certain banks have run out of their AI spend and it's June, right?
Yeah.
So now have they stopped doing work on that? No, right? The hyperscalers and the large language model companies are going to make out like bandits.
Yeah.
But they're also not charging what the cost of that is yet. Like, they've got $1 trillion valuations based on 40, 50 billion of sales. So the costs are going to go up, the cost of running this is going to go up, and it's going to have an impact to everything in society. Like, the cost of electricity is up in the US, right? Like, because you're building all these data centers, but half the use cases that people are doing these are not vetted use cases, not thinking about it, and they're not, what's the actual business problem you're trying to solve? It's like, well, everything has to be solved with an AI hammer. It's just not just cost of AI, I just don't think people have thought it through, and general enablement. Anthropic comes out with a release every week, every day, right? There's no way humans can keep up with the amount of change that's occurring. So the change management in organizations to educate the staff, to bring them on that journey, is going to be as important as choosing a technology vendor. And I haven't seen companies be successful at that yet.
Yeah.
In pockets, but not at a scale, right?
Yeah.
So.
What do you think firms are underestimating most right now?
I think back to the point of, they think AI is quick and you can deliver applications quickly.
Yeah.
But if you don't use it correctly, you're going to have, like, say, a lot of these prototypes that never make it to production.
Yeah.
So I think they're underestimating the speed of the app and getting it into production.
So what do you think firms are underestimating right now, or what could help them align better in future?
Yeah, so I think, we've been hearing a lot about AI, and of course every firm is trying to find ways to come up with an AI strategy.
Yeah.
But it's no longer conceptual, and now if you walk into a room and you don't have an answer for what your AI strategy is, then you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So I think that that's key. I also think that it's, again, something people have been talking about a long time, but people talk about cloud adoption and moving mission critical trading applications into the cloud. A lot of tier 1 banks are still very apprehensive to do that.
Yeah.
But I think we are going to continue to see a lot of movement in that space.
100%.
One thing to mention is people, especially in the Americas, talk a lot about GCP and AWS. But Oracle is coming up really strong behind the curve. And they certainly have the financial capability to make a real run for the business.
Yeah.
And so I think you're still going to see some folks jump in the game, even though it might seem late. and really disrupt the cloud.
It's a huge undertaking, but yeah, there's still so much room for disruption in that space.
Absolutely.
And I guess as far as skills, mindsets, and capabilities, what do you think is going to be the most valuable in the capital market space over the next 5 years?
Yeah, so I think that I would say the convergence of DeFi and TradFi.
Yeah.
So if you don't really understand the complexities of what it's like to commingle crypto trading with traditional markets, I think you're going to be behind the game. So anybody that has that more conservative view on crypto and digital assets, they need to start changing really fast because they're going to get left behind. There's no more of a question of if, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I mean, it's already here, and it's not going through, it seems.
No,
After
absolutely.
crypto winter and the survival, that it's still here.
Yeah. And there's a lot of advantages to be had by that.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's a really interesting space, but again, you have to be informed on both sides.
Okay, amazing. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. It was super interesting. So I guess as far as like skills, mindsets, or capabilities, what do you think that these capital markets firms will value most over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's obviously the topic du jour is AI, who is really going to be at the front of that, who's going to be the most cutting edge with their technologies, and how are you really going to stay ahead?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the major thing that people are going to want to see. And I think it's also really difficult to predict. Right now we're seeing, prediction markets is something that people are focused on. Yeah, so can you get people that are talented enough, that are looking into those markets in the right way? Are you, it's a lot about prioritization for your firm. You really need to find a specialization and niche in which, you can see the strategy from, a 50-foot view of, okay, well, if we're focused on this and we can carve out that niche and be competitive in that way in the long run, then that's what we should kind of stay focused on, and not just look at the shiny objects and just continue to just chase this never-ending kind of cycle of what's next.
Exactly, and trying to figure out what will actually stick as opposed to dabbling in every new piece of tech that is being thrown at us these days.
Yeah. I think it's really exciting and people love to talk about it, but I think you really need to have people that are true experts in what they do, build that out, find the right partners, really have an understanding for it. And even if you're using AI to augment anything that you're doing, you need to have experts in-house that are going to vet that whatever the AI tools or LLMs or what have you are giving to you is, and I think, a member of the panels had said that before, you kind of need to have a level of intelligence to ensure that that's actually, what you're looking for, that this is on the right track. Because, maybe it's not hallucination, but maybe they just don't have the right data that's giving you the answers that you need in order to be successful.
It makes sense.
So,
okay, well listen, this has been super interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining. As far as skills, capabilities, or mindsets that you think will be the most important or the most valuable over the next 5 years in capital markets, what do you think?
It's to continue to learn, educate yourself, right? I always tell this story to people that I ran large teams and large organizations in the past, and training budgets was always this, we've got $1,000 for training per head per year, right? And a course costs $5,000. And at the end of every year, I'd have money left over in the training budget. We all complained about the money and no one spent it.
Yeah.
Right? And so we ended up doing we offered training in one of the banks I worked at and said, everyone can go on this training. It's going to be more than we have in the budget, but everybody is recommended to go on it. At the end of 2 years, only 35% of people have actually gone on that training, despite being told to go on the training, told to educate yourselves. And all you're really doing is you're doing yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
Because it's not that AI will take your job, but it's someone who's decided to continue to educate themselves who will take your job.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of talk about people losing jobs to AI. I think it's really just people who are refusing to stay on board, keep current, and try and play around with stuff, whether it's at work or at home. There's just get yourself involved and play around with it. And if you have that mindset of coming in with I want to learn, and I may not be the best at this, but I'm going to try. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's again from a people point of view is going to be super valuable to how you progress as a company
and figuring out where it has the real impact as opposed to just
thrown in
general,
everything, right? I can tell you I sat when I was CTO at a rating agency, 90% of all of the use cases were just automation use cases we could solve without AI for a lot less money. But when they brought those use cases to the table previously, people say, well, we don't have the time, the money, the effort. So everyone's like trying to jump on that back. Well, now we're funding things. What about this project? What about this project? So you really do have to look back and say, can I solve this without using AI?
Yeah.
And that's also like how we're trying to help from a product point of view. We have our event mesh, we have our agent layer. We're trying to think about that level between the two, like the processing of events in real time, because if we can pre-process those events and only feed like the 10 events or a summary of the thousands of events to AI, you will save an awful lot of token usage as well. And every customer I talk to at the moment is like, if you have something in that space, we desperately want to hear about it because we know we have that problem. We can't point AI at entire historical data store that's vastly expensive. I need to summarize that data and just pass the summarization. And so that's how we're thinking about this, is like 3 layers of eventing, stream processing, and then the agent layer that sits above it. And if we can bring all those things together for companies, then we can help them be successful.
It'll be huge. Yeah. Okay, well, amazing. Thank you so much for the time. It's super interesting. And thanks for joining.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, makes sense. And final question then. What skill, capability, or mindset do you think will be most valuable in capital markets over the next 5 years? So looking into the future.
Definitely there's a role for the architects, just making sure that these applications all hang together nicely, and then data is king with everything at the moment, so using AI across the data sets, so as long as you understand the data and the analytics of it, you can then build your models to actually use the data how you need it to be.
And I guess data management then as well is a huge potential for growth, because data is king these days. It's tied to everything. It's AI.
And they have, data's held across all these disparate systems. A lot of companies have started to create these workspaces where they're bringing in the data and warehousing it in one particular place, but they don't know how to use the data, and they think AI will solve that. But if you don't know how your data models hang together and know how to analyze the data, your models will be worthless.
And how to structure the data, how to put it to use, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, listen, I think that's some great information, and appreciate the time, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Cheers.